Hello and welcome to the month of December where I have a cold and we're going to be looking at some updates from Onewheel's EUCs and some updates on the VESC. Starting off, we're going to be looking at some major news that happened in the Onewheel community. Quite interesting how this has turned out. This is the CPSC in America, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, came out of a news story recommending that users stop using Onewheels. You cannot use them anymore. Okay, put the ban hammer down on these. No, it's a recommendation from them that they could potentially cause an ejection hazard, almost like strapping yourself in and firing yourself out of a cannon. On any of the boards, they actually name all of them. So they're starting off with the kind of the original and the Plus and the XR and the Pint X, and the GT. They just put a blanket recommendation that people stop using them on entirely. Now, if you look through the CPSC's website, it's just based in the United States, but it is things where they look at reported injuries with regard to consumer products, and then they often make kind of recommendations whether people stop using them or not. So there is other products out there. This does seem like a bit of an overstretch in a way because it is kind of people pushing well past the kind of safety limits of the product itself that then causes people to fall off. Without actually any kind of mechanical failure as such as kind of what they describe. So I'm not sure what will happen with regard to that. It's still up on their website. They've certainly not changed their mind about it. They wrote a big statement about it. What they suggest is that some people have fallen off and got head trauma and such. Always wear a helmet. Okay, always wear a helmet. There was a response actually. The people who own products always get a chance to respond to this. So they did have a response from Onewheel from Future Motion. But then there was also a massive social media response as well. And it's had a strange impact actually. So we'll have a look at that in a second. Quite interesting. Just a bit more information on the CPSC's website, which I found as well. There's actually some more information on here about things like e-scooters and such. This is one of my previous videos. We talked about kind of charging safety and such. Only briefly mentioned it to e-scooter fires. Something that was in the news in the UK quite a bit recently on things like trains and such. They got banned. E-bikes, e-scooters and hoverboards, and they start talking about kind of safety tips and things like never charging these items while you're sleeping, especially if they're nearby. Make sure you're always aware of where they are charging them. Only use an approved replacement battery pack. I think there's some problems people have in the UK where you can order battery packs on like eBay. You're not really sure of the quality of them. It's quite interesting. There's a few extra things here down. Always wear a bicycle helmet. Really interesting for us in the UK because there's no regulations for private e-scooter usage or Onewheels or kind of EUCs or anything like that. So there's actually nothing to go off other than hoping that your product is well built. And things like always wear a bicycle helmet. Like our country doesn't even force people to do that for like cycling. So I don't know, I'm not sure. These are like recommendations, obviously. You want to protect your head. But yeah, that was interesting because I found that on the same CPSC website as well. So interesting stuff over there in America. They've got the same problems, obviously, as every other country with regard to these products. Next, we had a response from Future Motion. So they've been doing a podcast recently. Jack's been kind of running the podcast. Kyle's been on all the podcasts so far. The last one was with Jimmy Chang. But this one's specifically about the CPSC story. So talking about kind of what's happened, what they're going through, and what the response has been. It was a really interesting podcast to listen to. You get kind of more insight into, obviously, Kyle. He starts out with a really funny thing about saying how they think they've destroyed boredom a bit too much. So that's
Jack and Kyle with you here today. Obviously, there's been developments in the Onewheel world, which we're here to talk about. How you doing?
You know, sometimes I think we might have destroyed boredom a little too hard. I'm like, I could just go for a little more boredom, to be honest.
I think I could just go for a little more boredom. I appreciate that. That's quite funny. But anyway, it started off a big response from the community because there's quite an avid Onewheel community. There's some big companies kind of represent a lot of people there with riders, so like the Float Life. They produced a video.
So what does one-wheeling mean to me? Well, I could tell you, but I think these folks might be able to do a better job than I ever could.
What does one wheel mean to me? It's a bit of a loaded baked potato of a question.
So it's quite a nice video. It goes through all the kind of loads of different pro riders and people who are really into one-wheeling, especially a lot of personalities that people are aware of online, talking about their one-wheel experience and what it's meant to them over the years. So they're trying to get the kind of community together. And that's kind of brought me on to something I was thinking about, is that the Future Motion was struggling with a bit of a PR image with their community for quite a while. The CPSC have almost seemingly done them a massive favour. It basically says like, no, one wheels are terrible and they're dangerous. And then all the community's been like, oh no, we're behind Future Motion. We like their products. Like, maybe we don't like some of their business practices, but we love their products, so let's get behind them. So there's been a lot of positive coming out from the community about kind of getting behind one wheel and making sure everyone's kind of happy about it. There's less people in the last few weeks and months who have been kind of complaining about things like this. I'm sure there's still lots of complaints of service issues and such, but it seems like this has been like a big win in terms of kind of publicity and PR for Future Motion, so quite good. Instagram had quite a lot of stuff on this as well, so on the One Wheel Instagram, they actually asked for people to fill in stories or write stories on a SurveyMonkey about kind of what one wheel means to them, so all the community can contribute. So this was when they had 4,000 letters submitted to them. They said they were going to print them out and send them to the CPSC so for them to have a read and show them why it shouldn't be kind of recalled or whatever, which was quite fun. And they had Mr. One Wheel Wing here, Javier Starks. Actually, I can't pronounce his name properly. I apologise for butchering that. Javier, is that? I don't know. But anyway, he's got the most mileage done, and he then got more mileage done delivering 4,000 letters, along with one of his other friends here, followed on to the CPSC building in Washington, DC. So that would have been quite interesting, it turning up with a one-wheeler, delivering all these letters. I wonder if anyone actually read them. Which leads us on to what we're actually laughing about in the next one, which is this one. Nice little Harry Potter reference here. The CPSC office on Monday. Just inundated with loads of letters of people saying why they love their one wheel so much. Anyway, finishing off, that was all one wheel content for kind of this month, last 4 weeks or so. We've got a little bit more based on VESC, which is obviously not a one wheel. It's a one wheel kind of flavoured device. Mario Contino, who's got a big YouTube presence for one wheels and electric skateboards and such, doing some own battery products. Obviously created his own VESC machine, VESC-based one wheel device. He's also done like a big blog about it, so he's got kind of all the information in there, all the kind of links to websites that he's used and kind of YouTube channels that he's done for kind of instructional videos and things, and it's really well set out. So there's like starting off videos, what parts you need and such, and how to assemble different bits of the box and all the rest of it. Loads of pictures and things. I mean, it's still proper getting into the weeds. You'd need to be kind of fully invested in this type of thing to still build it. But it's still fascinating. It's interesting to see the more information that gets out there. Eventually, the closer it's going to get for people who want to create and make their own versions of this, because there's people out there DIYing them now. So yeah, really cool to check out. That's his website, mariocontino.com. Articles, he just writes blogs on there. I think they're linked in some of his YouTube videos anyway. All of these obviously will be linked below the video, so you can test them there. We had Mad Max, who has got another YouTube presence, and they're testing out kind of updated firmware for the VESC one wheels. So this is ATR 23, but they do mention in some of the videos that they're actually up to ATR 25. So there's like constant iterations of this firmware to try and improve it. And talking about what it feels like. And he was riding it around some trails in Tahoe, and there was a video of Jeff McCosker doing something similar in Tahoe actually, and it literally just looks like a really kind of delirium-based one wheel, like going really fast around the trails, no major issues. It looks like it's really come on a long way, and people seem to be quite impressed with it, so keeping an eye on that space. Okay, we also had, moving on to EUCs, we've had kind of full release of some new products. We've got the Veteran Sherman S, which has come out. There's people looking forward to this because when the first Sherman came out, people were really excited about it. Kind of blew everyone away as like a first proper wheel from this kind of new company. The Sherman S, people were a bit unsure about it, but it's received a really positive response actually from people. So they're really impressed with the suspension. really impressed with like the speed, but also the control under speed as well. So the videos we've got kind of linked here, they talk about how you feel kind of under control no matter what kind of speed you're going, because that's a lot of power as well. So. You have to be super confident. I do not necessarily recommend weaving in and out of traffic whilst you are riding an EUC. Obviously, this guy has been riding them for many years. I was very excited. And he was really complimentary of the machine as well.
The suspension on the Sherman S. For the very first time, I thought to myself, this is it.
This is it. We also had Mr. Wrongway doing some reviews of the Sherman S as well. So again, he was really complimentary of it, and he really liked it. He did somehow run it into the ground so much over the course of reviewing it, they actually did break some parts of it. I think he's since replaced the shock absorbers, or on the he's since replaced some of the parts for the suspension, and obviously putting it through its paces and kind of severe way. And then another product which is kind of on the verge of popping out is the V13. Kuji Rolls is appearing on Instagram again. He's done an acceleration test for the V13 here, which just goes to show you how powerful this wheel really is. Some long open flat roads there. Look at that, 50 kilometers, 3.15 seconds. That's insane. That's insane. Very powerful wheel. Big wheel though. Very large wheel though. I like the LED display on there as well. But also going to be very expensive. So a lot of new wheels coming out, but also quite dear. Yeah, people will get them. They'll be fun. I'm not sure exactly when this wheel comes out, but it must be coming out quite soon. He said he's got a video in the process for reviewing it. He said sometime in December, so maybe in the next kind of couple of weeks you might see something pop up on his channel about that more in-depth review. We have a V13 production line video, so showing them actually building the first few batches of the wheels that are going out, or testing them I guess, but it looks like with these videos. You can scroll through here, they've got quite a few of the different products on there. So you can see it's in mass production now, obviously being built to be sent out to people. That's exciting. And then finally, last two parts of EUC footage have just happened upon. I've never really seen much of this so far. I've seen little clips of it from like anti-electric games and such, but there's a couple of videos that popped up on here. ABS Race and Ride from November 2022. This is the EUC Women's Final. So what I really liked about this is it's sort of shot with drone footage, which is really cool. You get a good kind of idea of the speeds that people are traveling around these courses. I don't know how exciting it is. It is. I suppose it is quite exciting, especially when people get clumped up close together, because there's a lot of maneuverability on large tracks like this, like weaving in and out. I suppose if you got a kind of commanding lead, you would probably maintain that unless you fell off. Which brings us on nicely to the men's one, which is it says Pro Class EUC. This was a kind of narrated video where they were having a race with a variety of people that are kind of well known in America for racing EUCs. It starts off pretty clumped up, it spreads out quite a bit, and then there's a bit of a shock fall right near the very end of the race, which kind of changes the people who win. It was a 3-lap race on this, looks like racing circuit for, I don't know, it's go-karts or cars or something. Massive. But yeah, it's interesting, I like it, this seems fun. Dangerous though, you can obviously see everyone's got full face helmets, and I imagine everyone's going to be rocking pads and everything. It's the same thing they're talking about with Race for the Rail with a one wheel, is that in the first year people don't really care about pads too much, but everyone's taking it to kind of natural extremes now, especially with like one wheel GTs and such. Everyone's gearing up for wrist pads, knee pads, kind of body protectors and all sorts, and that makes sense. I mean, if you want a little kind of racing career in this, you certainly don't want to be wiping out in the first race you ever try. Yeah. Anyway, that was that was all the videos pretty much that we saw for the month of November. We're now into December. Not sure how much will happen over this next month or so. But if there's anything that you've seen there, all the videos are going to be linked down below, so you can watch the kind of full videos of those. And yeah, if you've got any comments, anything you'd like to see in future, or anything that you see on here which kind of made you interested in these products, let me know in the comments. See you later. Bye.